When do we get our check for that participation?
I don't know. It's like every, when people write and ask if they're company manager for CIA, I always wonder, do you know how much money you make? Right, to be CIA.
Yeah, that'd be nice. And the list goes on. The next one, the first one was specifically funding and planning the COVID-19 pandemic at Event 201. So this is on October 19th, 2019, Bill Gates funded a simulation of today's pandemic 6 weeks in advance. Okay. I don't have to go through all these. They get kind of more and more alarmist and bizarre as the list goes on. But I want to address the second one here. Funding the development of the COVID-19 virus. Bill Gates is a major funder of the Pirbright Institute, UK, that owns the patent to the virus. That is absurd. The Pirbright Institute is a virology research institute out of the UK that does research with coronaviruses. Let's not forget, the coronavirus is sort of this like grandiose name because it was just like, it's like the big one. But coronaviruses are a thing. They're like a class of viruses.
SARS, MERS.
Right.
Yeah.
So anyway, but all this to say, Bill Gates does have a problematic relationship with public health, though. There's a really interesting article in the New Republic, with a very also kind of hyperbolic title of How Bill Gates Impeded Global Access to COVID Vaccines. The title's a little less hyperbolic than the image of him at the top. It's like an illustrated image where he's got horns and like weird pustules like kind of dripping off his face, and he's green, and there's flames in the background. Which
It's great.
It's well designed, but good lord, it seems a little yellow, journalism-wise for the New Republic. But maybe I'm giving them more credit than they deserve. It's a great article though, and it does go through a lot of the kind of fraud relationship that Bill Gates has had with public health, and a lot of it has to do with this idea of intellectual property, of open vaccine availability rather than monopoly vaccine or monopoly medicine. Monopoly medicine, exactly.
That's the phrase that the opponents of IP practices in pharmaceuticals would use. Right?
That's exactly right. And you got to consider the source. A lot of the people that are quoted in this article are from organizations that specifically are about something called like pool vaccines, or like pooling, the essential pooling resources so the rising tide carries all vessels and everyone gets the vaccine quickly, as opposed to just, we know there's this Moderna, AstraZeneca, which isn't even available here. That's only available, I think, in Europe, right? Pfizer, obviously, was, I think, first to the table. Is there another one that I'm missing, Ben?
You said Moderna.
Moderna, Pfizer, and AstraZeneca are the three that
Johnson.
Excuse me, Johnson & Johnson's the one shot, and you're done when there's kind of conflicting research over whether that one's as effective. But again, all this stuff is very new. But the idea that, let's think of open source coding, for example. Like open source technology is like definitely someone's making money off of the thing. Like, Minecraft, for example, is obviously hugely profitable, for the developers. But they also, within that environment, you can like do mods and like they make the code available to a degree. Maybe I'm overstating the case there, but certainly it was always the case with games in the past, like Doom and Quake and stuff. They were very like early to the scene with being like, hey, here's our code. You can totally mod it and do whatever you want. And it creates this very robust and interesting community of like people adding their own spin on the thing. This is a very silly and frivolous, comparison to what would happen if vaccine IP was made more publicly available. It would mean that the generics, quote unquote, would happen much more quickly, and it would just ultimately lead to more access, right? That's the argument of these like pool vaccine proponents.
Right, yeah. The idea is that the species is at a crisis point, and this has officially become something where we can sort out who gets credit later. We need the best and brightest minds working together as quickly as possible with as little red tape as possible. And Bill Gates, I believe, or the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation created this thing called the COVID-19 Act Accelerator,
Right.
which was meant to have that sort of crowdsourcing best and brightest minds approach, while also insisting that intellectual property rights will be respected, will not be violated, meaning that, for example, if you are a lab in India and you can make, this is a vast oversimplification, but let's say you and I are running a lab in India and we get our hands on the Pfizer recipe, let's call it that, and we know that we can manufacture this, and then just from our lab we can vaccinate hundreds and hundreds of people. Well, we haven't run this past Pfizer. We just kind of stole the recipe. That's a violation of their IP, right?
Yeah, but it's also like, so, you know, people in India need the vaccine. And there's a report from the World Health Organization from February 5th of 2021 that says the following. This is the kind of rundown without really the whole set of remarks. So it's the WHO Director General's opening remarks at the media briefing on COVID-19, 5th February 2021. I'm just going to read through this. Globally, the number of vaccinations has now overtaken the number of reported infections, but more than 3/4 of those vaccinations are in just 10 countries that account for almost 60% of global GDP. Around 130 countries with 2.5 billion people are yet to administer a single dose. That's a problem.
Yeah, that's a huge problem, because we're also seeing, inequality coming out. Countries that don't have a ton of budget to throw at the private pharmaceutical entities, or even enough have to get on the waiting list. Everybody agrees there's a problem. It's just people disagree about how best to approach it. We do know that there is a fight over this in the news right now. Like just a week ago, The Intercept reported that most U.S. residents agree that a new polling found that most residents of the U.S. want the government to break drug company monopolies. They don't think patents should be holding up the rollout of treatments for COVID-19. But then in the same week, statnews.com released an article saying that there was no evidence that having patents slows access to vaccines. So people are fighting about, I don't know, it seems like it could be just a bunch of folks fighting over who gets money at the end of the day, but it's like the worst time to have that argument, right?
Totally.
Can't we just sue later,
Yeah.
presuming enough people survive,
Yeah.
for the system to exist?
Save lives now and then sue later. Save your pissing contest for after people are actually, vaxxed.
Well, at this point, I propose we pause for a brief sponsor, maybe Bill Gates, who knows, and return.
I concur.
Ask a simple question. Ask everyone you know what matters to them.
Let's be clear, this is about fraud.
Work the angles.
Tonight here on MSNBC, we've got a special coming.
Question authority.
What specifically are you going to do?
Be tough on the answers.
Just not true.
Favor facts over conspiracies.
Should American citizens know?
And trust standards over hearsay. At MSNBC, this is what we do. And this is who we are.
This episode of Stuff They Don't Want You to Know is brought to you by Indeed.
With Indeed, you're closer than you've ever been to hiring candidates with the skills you need. You don't need stacks of resumes on your desk. You don't need more work. You need Indeed.
Boy, do you ever. Indeed is the job site that makes hiring as easy as 1, 2, and 3. Screen and interview all on Indeed.
So you can get your quality short list of candidates whose resumes on Indeed match your job description faster. Plus, you only pay for the candidates that meet must-have qualifications. And you can schedule and complete video interviews in your Indeed dashboard.
And Indeed has stuff like Indeed Instant Match. It gives you quality candidates whose resumes on Indeed fit your job description immediately. And Indeed skills tests that on average reduces hiring time by 27%.
You can choose from more than 130 skills tests and then add your must-have requirements so you only pay for applications that meet them.
According to Talent Nest, Indeed delivers 4 times more hires than all other job sites combined. Plus, it's just fun to say Indeed.
If you're hiring, you need Indeed. And you can get started right now with a free $75 sponsored job credit to upgrade your job post at Indeed.com/conspiracy.
Get a $75 credit at Indeed.com/conspiracy.
Indeed.com/conspiracy. Offer valid through June 30th. Terms and conditions apply.
Okay, we're back. Talking about Bill Gates, war criminal. Not really. And that's the whole thing, is that Bill Gates and his foundation wield so much influence over this conversation. And they have come out in saying that this intellectual property stuff and the respecting these IP rights is not a barrier to vaccination globally. And you know, there's supposed to be this voice of reason in global health. You know, their whole deal with preventing malaria and pandemics and in other countries and developing nations. But it would seem that image is counter to this particular line, because